this project of mine, which I'll be bringing to the stage as soon as tomorrow. Hello, Tedford. Is also a sort of family story. And there's nothing like learning about yourself through music with your family. And my father was a concert pianist. And growing up as a very young girl, he used to play classical music all the time. He was a doctor. He was a sort of an intense person. But when he came home from the hospital, he would play, he was practicing, but when he was trying to get my mom's attention, he would play Michel Legrand. And my mother would come out of the kitchen and be in a whole kind of mood. And I was quite young, and I learned something about Michel Legrand just from her energy. She would come in, and the way she'd lie down, or her hair, throw her hair, I knew that Michel Legrand, do you like that? I have hair too, you see, it's all family stuff. I knew that Michel Legrand was like a keyhole into a whole nother part of life, which I ultimately did figure out. But it was left mysterious, but I knew it was a keyhole to something, to exotic escape, to allure, to seduction, to something. You know, I saw it, but no words were said. I would ask my father, he'd be playing The Summer Knows or something, and I'd say, oh, what's that movie? He'd say, The Summer of 42. I'd say, well, what's it about? He'd say, no, I'm not telling you. Or the Thomas Crown Affair, you know, Windmills of Your Mind, His Eyes, Her Eyes, you know, the wonderful scene where they're playing chess. You know, my father would play those songs. I said, well, what's happening in this scene or something? You'll see someday. You know? So all this kind of, you know, unfinished sentences. You know, I also associated Michel Legrand with all this unfinishedness. And so I, you know, ... did that for years until I, you know, could to understand him better. So cut to, I'm living in California after a bunch of Broadway shows and this and that, and you know, I'm just like, I'm going to LA for a bit, you know how that is. So I'm in LA and I'm doing, yes. So I'm in LA and I was doing 7 failed television pilots. I was trying to get to 11 because that's what George Clooney did, right? And then he had a break, you know, but I didn't get to the 11. So I did 7, and I was doing other things and some films, and I would always feel like I'm in a trailer and wondering, like, did any of these people know I sing? And that's okay, but they don't. And I used to run off to Santa Monica and play with great jazz pianists. Of course, I found the great New York jazz pianist here, Ted Firth, but there's a nice guy in LA who I practice with. This is Ted Firth, and the whole show starts and begins right here. This is everything to me. So there's nothing more magical than all the chords, really, that a great artist like you brings to my life. So in LA, I would practice some music and so on, and I kept that part of myself alive. And I had a Hollywood manager, and that Hollywood manager gave me a fax one day, and on the fax it said, there's a play coming over to Broadway. They want you to go back to New York to audition for it. James Lapine is the director. And I looked at it, and it was it said the play is called Le Passe Muraille, and with music by Michel Legrand. And I swear the paper was like glowing in my hand. And it wasn't about success. It wasn't like, oh, Broadway, I want to go to Broadway. It's actually never been about that for me, but it was also Michel Legrand's name. And I looked down, I was like, Michel Legrand? I was like, Michel Legrand wrote a musical. And my Hollywood manager turned to me and said, I know, I love her. If she's watching. No, she's not my manager anymore. Anyway, I came to New York and I did audition for James Lapine. It was so interesting. Of course, he's worked with Sondheim, and Sondheim was in the audience. All these wonderful, interesting things began. But I was able to do that show with Michel Legrand. It was so wonderful and so complicated because something that is so French, like, do you even care? Like, I hope you'll care, the show's tomorrow, but like, it's so French, right? But it's so interesting. James Lapine was like, what are we gonna call the show? Like, people in America, they only know 3 French words. They know amour, bonjour, and croissant. You know, so it could have been called Croissant the musical. I don't know. So we worked it, you know, and we translated it, and so the songs are beautiful, and the experience of Michel Legrand being in the room. I can't tell you, I'd have done anything to make that man happy, to make that show beautiful, and he knew it. And he knew it, he sensed it, and I think over the years he understood the depth of my interest in him. So I'm going to sing at 54 Below Michel Legrand music. I also have the opportunity to share a new album, which is the Legrand Affair record that I made with Michel Legrand with the Brussels Philharmonic. It was 15 tracks that he arranged and orchestrated. They're crazy. They're crazy. It's wonderful. And you know what? People for years were like, the record is crazy. And I was like, sorry? Like, I don't know, I'm not sorry. He was crazy, but wonderful, magical. So the record has all the crazy on it. Like, there's the 100-piece orchestra, and he sings with me, and he has all the orchestra go 100 pieces. He was singing with them. He arranged magic. So I'm re-releasing that magic, and then this is a long story, but I'm gonna make it really fast now. Then I thought to myself, I said, you know what? If I'm real, Michel died this year, and I'm like, what did I learn? You know, I do admire great geniuses like Sondheim, and then this, you know, I do this as a problem. I'll work out with my shrink, but I admire these men, right? So this is a different kind of man, but I knew him so differently than Sondheim. I knew this man, and so I thought, I know that he taught me a lot, and I have it on DAT tape. So I have these tapes in the attic, and I have demos then that Michel was like, Melissa, let's go and practice, let's go see, let's go practice. We made demos with Steve Gadd on drums, with David Fink on bass, and Michel just playing the piano, like at Right Track, when Phil Ramone was alive, right? So, we did all this, and Frank Filippetti with his big cigar, you know, he's mixing it. These are legends. Nobody cares, but I care, okay? So that's the thing, like, what do you want this to do for your career? Like, nothing. I just want you to know how fascinating all these people are. I knew them, and they worked with big people. Bill Evans, you know, Sarah Vaughan, Dusty Springfield, but I really know these people. So we made these demos, and I preserved a lot of them in crazy form. It's made some JPEGs, MP3s and things, but it's been like an archaeological dig because Pro Tools doesn't work anymore, DATs can't be read anymore, hard drives can't be interpreted, we can't find the chord, we can't do the mixing, we don't know where the files are. Then Right Track went out of business, they sent me boxes. Phil Ramone died, he sent me boxes. John Otto passed away, he sent me boxes. I mean, this has been like the French archaeological dig of all times. You know, I know that the French, you know, decoded the hieroglyphics in history, and I couldn't always find the Rosetta Stone. But we did it. We have an album for you. It has the demos. It has Michel talking to me in my living room. It has the symphony tracks. And then I called the Bergmans and I said, is the song I sang in 2017 for a film that Michel asked me to do with for Jerry Lewis, for his good friend Jerry, who was dying, did his last film, and he asked me to sing the credits track. And I just called the Bergmans this summer and I said, before I release all of this and organize all this, is that the last song you guys wrote? And she says, no, Melissa, the last song that we wrote was this. And she emailed it to me. So I'm going to be debuting that at my show as well, and that's on the album. So the last song that Michel Legrand wrote with the Bergmans is on there, and some other songs that we did together with amazing Ted Firth leading an amazing band. So we have 12 new tracks on the album. So today we're going to sing, so I don't give away the song. There is a video on YouTube of that with beautiful Ted playing and the band, and some footage of Michel and I when I was young, and he was with us, and you can see in the footage my admiration for him and the playfulness of our muse, mentor, something. And so I miss him very much, and I value him, and I will seek all the lessons in my commitment to him and my respect for him always. So the song I'd like to sing for you is a song you all know from some instrumental classics like Bill Evans. But the words, you know, are also something to pay attention to. You Must Believe in Spring was a translation to English, a recreation in English rather, from a French song of the Bergman, by the Bergmans, Alan and Marilyn Bergman, the lyricists. And so you'll hear one of the most beautiful and healing songs of hope and renewal. And for our album, for Michel Legrand, Michel called the Bergmans in about 2005 and said, Alain, Marilyn, I need another verse for Melissa, it is too short. So I remember he was on my phone, I'm like this. That doesn't work. He called the Bergmans, and the Bergmans wrote a new verse. So for those of you out there who know this song well, when you hear angry voices, that's the beginning of the verse. That was written for me and Michel in a impetuous moment where he begged them, and they quickly did it. They faxed me these beautiful new lyrics. So I know that was a tornado of information, but I hope you'll enjoy the song, and I hope you'll come to the concert.